right, so here's a question from Michael, and Michael says, I've got it on the other screen over here. Michael says, my question is, how do you advise managers to manage managers? How do you advise managers to manage managers? In other words, how do I ensure those managers below me are actually managing effectively? Do I have to do skip level meetings? That seems inefficient, potentially demoralizing. Okay, so first thing to say is this is a very hard problem to solve. This is a, how do I manage managers is a subset of the really large problem in the world of work, the world of outside work, which is how do I know what those other people are doing over there when I can't see them? How do I inspect what I can't see? How do I reach across the regions of my company or the different offices or the whatever? How do I find out whether people are doing the right thing? And if I can't find out whether people are doing the right thing, how do I discharge my obligation to avoid failure? How do I make sure stuff keeps working when I can't see what all the people are doing? Um, Maybe in a way that's the eternal people question of large organizations, at least if you're thinking about avoiding failure. Of course, there are others when you think about creating excellence. Um, so it's a hard problem to solve. It's especially a hard problem to solve because of the way our brains are wired, because of this thing that we talk about in the book called actor-observer bias. An actor-observer bias sort of leads us into this world where we go, well, I've got my stuff going very well. I'm sort of competent and sorted out, and I know what's good. I've got a good view of the world here. Whoa, those other people though. Have you seen them? Whoa, there. Whoa, we should worry about them. It's sort of the way the brain is wired a little bit, that we give ourselves credit for our abilities and make excuses because stuff around us happens. Our environment causes our shortcomings, causes our performance shortcomings, if you like. But when we look at other people, their environment doesn't seem to matter. What we ascribe to them is you're not very good at your job. So we live in this world where we're all competent and all the other people aren't. So add that to I can't see what they're doing, and yes, this becomes a fixation. Should you do skip levels? Of course you should do skip levels. Those are lovely ways of understanding people's experience of work. If in a skip level you ask somebody, a couple of levels down or 3 or 4 levels down, how's your team leader? Most often they'll lie to you or just gild the truth. They're going to fudge it just a little bit. And the reason is that at the end of the skip level, you, senior person, are going to vanish off for another year and not trouble them again. But their manager, who might hear about what they said to you, is going to be there the whole time. So they're going to make the local things as safe as they can. And if that means a little bit of fibbing up the chain so that we don't get into trouble, then that's what they'll do. So you shouldn't do skip levels to find out those things. You should do skip levels to understand the people in your organization. And that's a perfectly good reason for doing them and a beautiful reason for doing them. So then what do you do? What do you do to find out what the other people over there are doing? Well, here's what we've done at Cisco. What we've done is we've created some countable things that team leaders can do that we know on average, in general, over time, will lift the performance of their teams. And we count whether they're doing those things. In other words, we've shifted our analytical attention from, strangely, paradoxically, from the outcomes people deliver to the means to those outcomes, because we can count the means, and it's very, very hard to measure the outcomes. And, we could go into a big digression on 360s and performance evaluations and whether any of that works, which it doesn't. So what does work? What's good data? Well, something you can count is always good data. So we count check-ins. We count weekly conversations. Do you respond to every request for weekly attention from your team? Do you have conversations in response to those things? Judged not by you, the team leader, but by the team members. Do they feel they are getting the attention that they need? We have a tool where you can measure the engagement on your team. Are you using it? Are you using it once a quarter? We're going to push a little bit further into that and go, can we in some way track whether you've had a conversation about the scores with your team as reported by the team? So, we understood our engagement. Did we then just sort of blow off those scores, or did we do something with them? Pushing even further, we're going to push into Have you had a conversation with a team member about how you're going to invest with them? And then 3 months later, do they feel like you did the things you agreed you were going to do? It's spend more time with me, or send me to training, or broaden my network. We can count whether a team member says, yeah, you did that or not at some interval of time. So we're pushing into, you want to understand what's going on over there. You can't measure the outcomes, but you can measure rituals and uses of tools, which we know from other research drives beautiful outcomes on a team, and we can hold you accountable for doing those things or not. And that gives us a beautiful baseline without sort of micromanaging and telling people in detail how to do their jobs, because only they can figure that out. Only they are actually confronting the team every day. But it gives us reassurance that we are sort of covering the bases and setting a baseline for effective team leadership. So that's what we do.